welcome to the Remembering Akron podcast. I'm your host, Derek Maxfield, and today my guest is Arlene Richardson. Welcome, Arlene.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us today.
It's good to be here, I think.
Yeah, it is. Every day is a good day, right, if you're here?
Yes.
So let's start kind of from the top of your own story. You were born in 1930. Were you born at home or were you born in a hospital?
I was born at an aunt's home.
At your aunt's home?
Which she was right near us, and she was the midwife, I think.
Okay, that's nice. 1930, that is right at the beginning of the Great Depression. That must have been something that impacted your family.
I was the third child in the family. And, yes, I think we went through some pretty tough times those first years.
Yeah, a lot of people did. Tell me about your parents.
Well, my dad, he had a little family farm, 26 acres.
His name was Robert Aldinger.
Robert Aldinger. And he was born on that farm, actually.
Really?
Lived there all of his life, and he died at 97.
97 is a nice, healthy, long life.
But he, during that time, he worked at the Pullman Car Company till that went out. And then the war came, and he worked at the Curtis Wright factory. Wonderful family. I had 5 brothers. I was the only girl.
Uh-oh. That sounds like a recipe for trouble.
Not necessarily. I don't remember that it was ever tough.
Tell me about your mom, Florence.
She was a wonderful, wonderful mother. Her home and her family was her main thing. She was a wonderful cook. She always had a meal on the table.
Was she from this area originally?
Yes, she was from Marilla. That's where her home was. She actually lost her mother when she was 5, I think, maybe less than that. So she was brought up by her grandmother. But she was just a wonder. Well, my mother and dad were just wonderful, wonderful parents. I think we couldn't ask for any better.
That is great to hear. Now, do you know anything of your family genealogy on either side, the ethnic origins of either family?
My dad's father came from Germany.
Oh.
And my mother's father came from England.
All right.
So.
Those are good things to know. So you grew up in Lancaster. On a farm?
On that 26-acre farm. My dad raised strawberries.
Oh.
We picked strawberries every year. He raised about an acre, which is a lot of strawberries back then, because we picked them all with the family, the 6 kids in the family. And we were able, whatever they made on the strawberries, the kids could put in their bank account for their future.
How nice.
So
the strawberries were an investment in your future.
Yes. So anyway, it taught us how to save.
All right.
And so that was a good thing, too.
I'll guess. So where did you go to school? Lancaster?
Lancaster. I went to the one-room schoolhouse.
Did you?
For the first 8 grades.
What was that like?
On Swartz Road and Broadway. As I remember, it was wonderful.
Do you remember any particular teachers from that time?
Yes, Miss Huber. We were country kids. We didn't get to go to the city of Buffalo very much. And she was the one teacher that I can remember that used to take each class to a movie in the city of Buffalo.
Really?
Once a year.
How nice.
So, anyway, I graduated there from 8th grade and went into Lancaster High School.
Well, how was that transition from a one-room schoolhouse to a larger...
I don't remember that it was being so bad. We had a school bus, of course, that didn't pick us up at the door. We had to go up to the corner of Broadway and Ransom and get the school bus. But other than that, I really didn't remember it being a very traumatic experience.
All right.
But I did have 2 older brothers who had already gone there so I wasn't the first
That always
one to
helps,
get
doesn't it?
Yes.
So do you have any fond memories of high school, a prom, or a homecoming, or a particular teacher?
Yes. My algebra teacher, I think, was my favorite. I don't remember her name, but she actually kind of got me interested in algebra. I was into sports. Basketball, I think, was my favorite. I was planning on being a school teacher.
Were you?
That's what I was planning on being. And I started Buff State. And I went there about a month, and I was homesick.
Oh, no.
Because I could not come home. So I stayed with an aunt, and I hated it in Buffalo. She had a home in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated it.
It's a familiar story even today.
Yeah. So I came home, and my aunt told me I didn't appreciate anything anyone did for me
Oh.
because I was quitting.
Uh-huh.
And so I came home, and I had to prove that I wasn't just a lazy person. So I think I quit Buff State one week and came and went in and enrolled at Bryant Stratton Business Institute the next week.
Did you have to go into Buffalo for that too?
Yes, but I could take the bus
I
and
see.
come home every day.
I see. Well, that makes a difference. That makes a difference. So what did you do at Bryant and Stratton?
I took stenographic secretarial. It was a little over a year course, I think.
Mm-hmm.
When I got out of there, I was hired by the Melvin Hall Advertising Agency in Buffalo.
Okay, that's a nice job.
It was. It was a wonderful company to work for. I became assistant production manager there in 4 years.
Nice.
By that time, I had met my husband.
That complicates
I met
things.
him. And so, anyway, I stayed there for another year, I think. Let's see. And anyway, I should get on with this. This will take all day at the rate I'm going, I guess.
You're fine.
Oh, correct.
So how did you meet your husband? Tell me how you met him.
At the fire hall in Town Line, New York.
At the fire hall. Now, what were you doing?
They had a square dance every
I see.
Saturday night. And he came there, and they had round and square dancing. So I guess he asked me to dance. And he didn't ask me to round dance because he didn't feel comfortable round dancing. So I would round dance with my brothers. So he went and took dance lessons.
Did he really? Now that's commitment.
He took 10 dance lessons at Arthur Murray, and then he asked me to dance. He was a good dancer, a lot better than I was, I'm sure. So anyway, we've been dancing all of our life.
Now that's wonderful.
No, it was.
That is a nice
I would
love story.
recommend anyone to take dance lessons because it's fun.
So your husband is Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about him.
He's has always been a hard worker. We got married in 1954 after we had gone together 5 years. We didn't have any money,
Mm-hmm.
and so he then at the end of we got married in 54, and then he put 2 years. They drafted him in the Army in 1954. I stayed here because I had what I thought was a pretty good job, and I should save my money. So I stayed home with my folks. And he put his 2 years in. He went over to Germany in the occupied forces. So he came home in 1956, was discharged, and he had always wanted to get into the registered Holstein business and have a dairy farm. So he went to work for a farm in East Aurora, and while he was there, a man from Akron, John Yowzy, was their artificial inseminator that came in to breed the cows. And Phil asked him when he came if he knew of any farms that were for sale. And John said, well, yes, there's a good one in Akron. And so Phil found out where, and so he came home that night and said, do you want to go look at a farm? So we came over here, where we're living now.
Nice.
And it was a wonderful family. The Philip Nice family ran the farm for years. They were excellent farmers. They were not so much in the dairy business as they were in cash crops and other things like that. But anyway, Mr. Nice, because the thruway had cut his farm in half and went right down the middle. And so he had half of his land on one side of the thruway and half on the other. But there was a roadway to get across. But he just did not like it. And he was up there probably in his 50s then, I think. And so he made a deal with us. He would hold our mortgage. And so we came and bought it and have been working ever since.
Now, that's great.
63 years.
63
years now in August it'll be.
Now, your husband went to Alfred State for a time to learn how to do some of this stuff, huh?
Yes, he took this registered Holstein. Well, of course, in registered cattle, it doesn't have to be Holsteins necessarily. But Holsteins was the breed that produced the most milk, and there was the most market for, I think, Holsteins. So anyway, we bought that farm with 18 head of cattle. They weren't registered, but he wanted registered cattle. So we bought our first registered cattle, I think, within the first year. And it was from a good dairy. And from then on, we just started to improve the herd, add on other what do I want to say, not other breeds, but other cattle with better breeding than what ours had. So we went from there. He was a very, very good farmer. Worked his head off, though, I think, too hard. But the whole family pitched in. I said I would never milk a cow, and it wasn't too many months. I was out there because he didn't have anyone else to help him.
I see.
So
everybody had to pitch in, just like with the strawberries.
That's right, just like the strawberries. And but anyway.
Well, that kind of thing has a way of bringing a family together.
I give him credit for where we are today because he loved his dairying and he knew what to do to improve his herd. And actually, he did get an award for being Outstanding Farmer of the Year.
Nice. Do you remember when that was?
Yeah, I think I brought that. I should have looked these things up. I didn't.
No, that's okay.
I didn't start till this morning looking for 1965.
1965. All right.
He was New York State Outstanding Young Farmer.
Now, that's a great honor.
Yes, it was.
Now, you have 2 children?
2 children alive today. We lost one daughter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She had just been married and was helping her. He was a farm young man about 3 miles away. And she was helping him unload corn, and the wagon tipped over, and she had a concussion and
Oh, no.
didn't get her to the hospital soon enough.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, she was 29 at the time. So,
And you have 2 other children.
and we have 2 other. James is our son. He works at Akron Central School.
Okay. Is he a teacher?
No, he's in the maintenance crew. And he likes farming too, but he did not want to run the farm.
Uh-huh.
And then we had Jane went to Alfred too and took dairy business, I think it was.
Okay, so there is somebody that might run the farm.
Well, she's the one who passed away, though. She married.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But then Janice, our youngest one, she went to Cornell.
Good school.
And she was going for veterinary medicine, but decided to change her field, and then she went into journalism. And she actually was editor of the New York State Holstein magazine and also the National Holstein magazine.
Really?
In the course of her single life, and then she got married. Well, she was still editor when she was married, so she has 2 children.
Wonderful.
She's still keeping books for farmers down there in Avon, so she's
Nice.
stuck with farming too.
Yes. Now, I understand somewhere along the way you became a town supervisor. How in the world did you go from a dairy business to becoming a politician?
Well, we were involved in a lot of farm organizations.
Okay.
Farm Bureau, which was a very strong, and still is, Farm Bureau works hard for agriculture and the farmers. And we were involved in that, and I had some kind of jobs with that organization. And what else were we into? And we had at one time they wanted to put a jet port down through Newstead, and it was to come down the street just south of where we live. And our dairy farmer friends down there, they got very involved. And so we started protest against the jet port. And I happened to even brought that up because I did find a letter from a minister out our way that spoke against it.
Really?
For us, and here's his speech. Anyway, so anyway, I got involved in a lot of the Farm Bureau, our Holstein organization. I was involved in that. I wrote for their magazine, and we stood up for agriculture in Newstead. We didn't want Buffalo to come out and take over Newstead and make it another Amherst.
Uh-huh.
We were the 3rd ring town, so we wanted it to remain agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were maybe we spoke up more than some people would have for keeping Newstead green.
And so this led to becoming a council person?
I guess so. I probably circulated petitions and did stuff like that, and did write articles for the newspaper. And that's the only thing I know. I was very involved in church too.
Mm-hmm.
And then our kids were in school, so I was in the PTA. I was president of the PTA, and then I got on the school board, and so I was in those things first.
Very busy lady. Very
So,
busy. And so eventually...
I did that besides helping Phil. I worked out in the field. I learned how to drive tractors. I did all that.
Did you ever get any sleep?
I don't know. I don't know if Phil did. I think I got sleep.
Oh, right. So eventually you became town supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
How'd they talk you into that?
I didn't know enough to say no.
I see. All right.
I was a councilwoman for 6 years.
Uh-huh.
I was in my 2nd term, and then our supervisor died.
Oh.
And the deputy supervisor at the time finished out his year, and he didn't want to run again. And I was deputy supervisor. But women didn't run for supervisors then. And so I didn't ask to run, but I was a Republican at the time, and the Democratic Party asked me to run as supervisor. They said, you're the best qualified, you are deputy supervisor, now you should run. So, and the man that asked me, I liked very much, and he said, I'll run with you if you will run. So I thought, well, why not? If the people don't want me, they won't vote for me, so
Okay.
what difference does it make?
It is interesting that you switched parties for this.
I did.
When were you elected town supervisor? What year was that?
19. That's why I brought this book along.
Okay.
I think it was 80. I think it was 83.
You think it was in the 80s?
Yeah.
So Ronald Reagan would have been president at that time.
1984 to 1987.
Okay.
I had 2 terms and then I lost.
Oh.
But what else now do I need to say about that? Oh, the reason I ran for the council in the first place was because Bill Paxson was running for the Erie County Legislature, and he asked me to run. And that was just when I guess they were trying to get women involved in local politics. And I liked Bill. And so I ran, not knowing whether I'd ever be elected, but I was. I think I was elected in pretty good margin anyway. So anyway, that's how I got to be councilwoman, and then they asked me, the other party asked me to be supervisor.
Did your husband have an opinion on you switching parties?
He said, go ahead if you want to.
Okay, that's nice to be supportive like that. I think that might be easier in small towns than it would be on the national level, don't you?
Yeah. Bill Paxson told me that was committing suicide to do what I did, and I guess maybe in the long run he probably was right. But I didn't need the job for the money. We had our farm, and so I thought, well, I'll just try it and see. And so I did.
And did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed working with the people. I didn't enjoy the politics. I didn't realize, I guess, what the two-party system in Newstead would be like, because we were pretty much solid Republican.
Yeah.
And so this now, I came on, and then Harold Johnson, who was the one who asked me to come on, he was also a Democrat. So we had 2 Democrats and 3 Republicans. So it was a little bit
dicey at times. I'll bet it was. All right. But I'm imagining you don't regret doing it.
No, I think I learned a lot. I learned a lot about politics, I'm sure. And, when I lost, as I said, I didn't need the job. It wasn't as though my life depended on it. So I went on with my life after that. And not that it didn't hurt a little bit, but...
Right. Well, it sounds like your political life was a little bit of a baptism by fire.
I think so.
Well, that is a very nice story. Now, I understand that you guys are retired now?
Yes.
And who's running the farm now?
The Crayer egg producers.
Oh, really?
Here in Newstead.
So,
seen their...
But you're still you still
Yes.
live in the house on the farm?
We still live in the house. We are in a lease with the Crayer farm.
I see.
They rent everything, the buildings and the property, and they do with it what they need to do.
I see. So a well-earned retirement.
We've been very happy with the arrangement. We have been retired now. Let me see. My husband was 75 when we retired, and he's going to be 90 now. So.
Oh, well, that's nice.
So it's been good.
Now, what does he do with his time now that he's got no farm to take care
There's
of?
plenty of things to do around the place. We have big yards and a lot of buildings to maintain. Our granddaughter and her husband live on one side of our house. It's a duplex. And they actually have taken over the lease from the Crayers, and they're working with them and maintaining buildings and all that.
Nice.
So.
Do you do any travel?
Not anymore. We used to. We've done quite a bit of travel, and we don't do any now.
Yeah.
We're kind of tired of cruises and going on the airplanes and all that stuff.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite place that you visited?
Alaska.
Yeah? Tell me about that. That sounds fascinating.
We took a trip that I found in a magazine, and it was 7 days, I think it was 7 days in Alaska, and 7 days touring 5 states in the United States, the states with the national parks. So it was really nice. We flew to Seattle and then went up to Vancouver and got the cruise ship, and then went up and did Juneau and all that area, and came back and got on a bus and went to all these states. Montana, Idaho. What was the other one? Utah, Montana, Washington.
Colorado.
Colorado, probably. Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a wonderful trip.
That was probably,
Yeah.
we did the Caribbeans, all of those too, and Panama Canal, we did that.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So, anyway.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
We didn't go abroad. My husband said, I've been in Germany, I don't want to go back.
My father feels the same way
Does
about
he?
Germany.
Yeah, because they were there on the occupied forces,
Yes.
and it wasn't very nice, I guess. No, he didn't
All
want
right.
to go back.
So we have had a wonderful interview. Now, the hardest question of all. Are you ready?
I don't know.
Okay. I always end this way. Imagine a generation from now, you're gone, and your grandchildren, any one of them, are telling their children about you. What would you hope they said?
Well, that we were honest and cared about people, I think. I would like them to think we were helpful to others. That we brought them up in a Christian home. We always went to church as a family. And I think most of my family is still involved in church. I think that we were active not only in our farm organizations, but in local organizations. And we took part. We helped different organizations.
Do you have any advice that you would give to one of your great-grandchildren?
Do what you want to do. Follow your dreams, I guess I would say. Work hard. And if things don't always go well, you just put your shoulder to the grindstone and go for it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening in, and remember to tune in to the next episode of Remembering Akron.